My Demon is a supernatural rom-com thriller that focuses on Dodo Hee and Juwon Gyeong, who is a demon. That's why the show is called My Demon. She is the adoptive daughter of a business mogul, and obviously he's a demon who has to go around making deals with people. They get to live for 10 years, and then he comes and collects on the contract, obviously sending their soul to hell. It's a really fun show. It's really got a little bit of everything. Tonally, it's mostly a rom-com, but with like a thriller and murder mystery mixed in. It's got some really goofy comedy that I thought was hilarious spread throughout. I think it's a show that pretty much anyone could watch and enjoy. It touches on sort of the themes of what it means to be human and what it means to be a demon. In the beginning, there's a line from Greek origins where it says that demons used to actually be guardians of humans. And obviously today, the more common thing we know demons as is, depending on your beliefs, agents of Satan, or they make deals with you and screw you over, or whatever the case is. Obviously, because there's a murder mystery element to the show, you get the aspect of, are there humans that are actually worse than demons type of question spread throughout. And another really interesting part of this is there's a conversation that Guan has with Dodo Hee where he's trying to defend that what he does is grant wishes, not that he's stealing souls and damning them to hell for eternity. And we see him here in this scene in the beginning. He's made a deal with a gangster. He comes to collect, and he's pretty ruthless about it. In one of the early episodes, so it's not a huge spoiler, there's parents that have a sick child who's going to die. And the mom says that she would do anything for her daughter to live. And obviously he offers her a deal, and she takes it. And it's an interesting thing because obviously she's sacrificing her soul, but then her daughter is getting to actually live a full life healthily. So you could debate whether or not you think that's a good thing or a fair trade or whatever, but at least the show portrays it as he's granting a very positive wish there to someone who's desperate. And one of the things that I really like that the show does is when he's a full demon in the first episode, he's really ruthless, really detached. Obviously, he has all these powers, and he views himself as an apex predator, kind of standing atop the humans that are insects. And they live their short lives and die while he lives forever. And they have no powers and all that. And him and Dodo Hee meet up in kind of a rom-com type situation because her grandma wants her to get married. She gets annoyed and leaves. So obviously they don't get along to start. They end up in a situation where they're in a river together, and you see this little cross on his wrist, and it lights up whenever he uses his powers. And she goes to grab his hand, and the cross transfers to her. So then obviously a big part of the plot in the beginning is they don't get along. And since his cross is transferred to her, she can't use his powers, but he can only use them if he's touching her hand. So he's lost his powers. And a big part of the show is you get to see him progressively become more human as the show goes on. And there's a lot more to it than that, so that's not a spoiler. You know, the show obviously does a lot of neat things where she needs him nearby to keep him close as a bodyguard because he has these powers, and he needs her nearby to have access to his powers. And then you get a lot of drama because she's the adopted daughter, and the whole family is trying to take over the family business, and they're all kind of ruthless, so you don't know who the murderer is. So for the regular, more dramatic part of the story, there's a lot going on, just like there is between her and him with the supernatural stuff and the romance stuff. There's a lot of like slow motion shots like this that are very 90s, very over the top. Humor is a super subjective thing. I thought the show was really funny. They do a lot of these like cartoon sound effects while they're doing stuff too, which I thought was an interesting choice, but I think it works for the whole tone of the show. There's interesting philosophical aspects in here about sort of life and meaning and partners, and the religious stuff isn't like a huge part of it, but there are conversations in there that are interesting about a demon's role in life and kind of God's role in a person's life and fate and free will and all those sorts of things that come up. Definite recommend for me. You can always watch one episode and just decide it's not for you, but it really does have a little bit of everything. And I hate that I had to say this, but it's so nice to watch other media where you're not getting just beaten over the head with politics. Like, yeah, you'll have characters that are sexist and whatever sometimes, but I mean, who cares, really? Typically, they're the villains in the shows anyway, or the antagonists. So it's like, yeah, you should give them bad traits. And there's no big lectures or anything like that. It's just a good story, and the priority is just to entertain you and tell a good story. And there's a lot of other good characters that I left out because the cast is pretty big. Obviously, you saw her whole adoptive family, and then some other people get introduced that affect the story. But yeah, really enjoyed this one. If you've seen it, let me know what you think. I try to respond to all the comments, like and subscribe and all that. Thanks. See ya.